All right, so you're gearing up for a Slitter Operator interview. We're diving deep today into some of those common questions you might get hit with and how to make your answers really stand out.
It's definitely a competitive job market, and with more and more companies automating, skilled operators are in high demand, especially those who really understand not just the machines, but the ins and outs of all the different materials.
Okay, so let's start strong right out the gate.
Hmm.
One of the first questions you'll probably hear is, how did you become interested in becoming a Slitter Operator? Seems like a pretty basic one, but I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. This is where interviewers are really trying to see your passion. They want to know you're genuinely interested, not just looking for any old job.
So how do we show them that spark? What makes a good answer here?
Think back to what first got you interested in this kind of work. Was it the machinery, that precision you need, or maybe seeing raw materials become a finished product?
I can see how getting in touch with that initial interest would make your answer more, I don't know, authentic.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get specific. Like, if you've always been curious about how things are made, talk about a time you took something apart just to see how it worked. Or maybe a project where you had to be super detail-oriented. Connect it back to the skills you need as a slitter operator.
That's a great point. It's showing them you're not just there for a paycheck, you actually want this job.
Right. And hey, remember RoleCatcher? Their AI can actually give you feedback on your answers here. It can help them sound more genuine and, enthusiastic.
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher. It's like having a personal interview coach.
Exactly. But even with AI, the real key is to be yourself and let your passion come through.
Okay, so let's move on to another common one. What experience do you have working in a manufacturing environment?
This is your time to shine. Interviewers want proof you can handle the demands of a fast-paced environment, where things can get a little intense.
So how do we make our experience stand out?
Ever heard of the STAR method?
Yeah, I have, but a refresher wouldn't hurt.
Sure. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's a way to structure your answers to these behavioral interview questions.
Okay, I see where this is going. So instead of just saying, I've worked in manufacturing, I give a specific situation.
Exactly. You describe the situation or task you were given, what action you took, and the result you got. So, for example, you could talk about a time you had to troubleshoot a problem on a production line. Explain what you did to find the issue, how you fixed it, and how the line got back up and running.
And it's always good to quantify results when you can, right?
Yeah.
Like, this resulted in a 10% increase in productivity or something like that.
Exactly. Those numbers really make an impact. Shows you think in terms of outcomes, which interviewers love.
This is making a lot of sense. So even if I don't have experience as a slitter operator specifically, I can still use the STAR method to show off relevant skills from other jobs.
Absolutely. Think about any time you had to be really detail-oriented, follow instructions to a T, work under pressure, or maybe lead a team. Those are all transferable skills that are valuable in a slitter operator role.
Great advice. It's all about connecting those dots for the interviewer and showing how what you've done before has prepared you for this specific job.
Right. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your CV against a job description. It'll point out areas where you might need to beef up your descriptions or add keywords to catch the hiring manager's eye.
That's right, especially with all those automated systems that scan for keywords.
Okay, so we've talked about general experience. Now let's get into the slitter operator specifics. One question that often comes up is, can you walk me through the slitting process?
Okay, now this is getting a bit more technical. What if I don't have a ton of experience with the actual machines used for slitting?
Don't worry. Even if you're not a pro, showing that you're willing to learn and that you have a basic understanding of the process goes a long way.
So where do I even start with explaining that process?
Well, first understand the basic idea. Slitting is basically taking a large roll of material, like paper or foil or metal, and cutting it into these narrower rolls with specific widths. Think about all the products that need that kind of material: labels, packaging, even car parts and electronics.
Wow, I never really thought about it, but slitting is used in so many industries.
Exactly. To get a little more specific, you could mention the different types of slitting machines, like rewind slitters or turret slitters. You don't have to get super technical, but showing you've done some research is always a plus.
So I should get familiar with the basic types of machines and the general steps involved.
Exactly. And don't forget to emphasize precision and quality control.
Right, because if the cuts aren't accurate, the whole product is messed up.
Exactly. You can even talk about things like tension control and making sure the edges are clean just to show you understand the details. And this is where RoleCatcher's career guides can be really helpful. They go deep into the specifics of slitting, the machines, even common challenges you might face.
So even without hands-on experience, I can still show I get the process.
Absolutely. It's all about showing initiative and that you're eager to learn.
Okay, we've covered a lot. But there's another huge part of this job, right? Safety.
You got it. Interviewers need to know that you put safety first and understand the rules. You'll almost definitely get a question like, what safety measures would you take when operating a slitter?
Okay, so how do we nail this one?
Think about showing them that you're safety conscious, that you understand the risks involved in working with these machines.
So I should talk about wearing the right gear, like safety glasses, gloves, steel-toed boots, that kind of thing.
Yes, talk about the PPE and about always following procedures, even if it takes a bit longer to get something done. You can even mention specific safety features on the machines, like emergency stop buttons or guards.
Okay, so it's about going beyond the obvious and showing that I'm really serious about safety.
Exactly. You could even say something about keeping the work area clean to prevent accidents.
That's true. A messy workspace is dangerous anywhere, but especially with big machinery.
Here's another tip. Mention that you'd be willing to speak up if you see something unsafe, even if it means questioning someone more experienced.
Shows you're not afraid to prioritize safety over anything else.
Right. And again, RoleCatcher's career guides often have sections on safety procedures specifically for slitter operators. Brushing up on those details can give you an edge.
So it's mixing general safety knowledge with those slitter operator specifics.
Exactly. And speaking of specifics, another question you might hear is, how do you prioritize your workload when operating multiple machines?
Okay, that sounds tough. It's not unusual for slitter operators to be handling a bunch of machines at once, right?
That's right. This question is about showing how organized you are, how you multitask, and stay cool under pressure.
So how do we get all that across in our answer?
Think about how you multitask. Do you have a system? Maybe you use checklists or mental notes or even something like time blocking.
Having a system definitely makes you more efficient, but it also shows the interviewer you're organized and can juggle multiple things.
Exactly. Get specific. You could say something like, when I'm managing multiple machines, I prioritize tasks based on how urgent they are and how they could impact production. I keep a mental checklist of key things for each machine and do regular checks to make sure everything's running smoothly.
That's impressive. It shows you're not just running around randomly, you've got a plan.
Right. Don't forget to mention staying calm and focused, even when things get crazy. You could say, I know that problems can pop up, and I'm good at adjusting my priorities while staying calm and focused on finding solutions.
Shows you can think on your feet and handle pressure.
Exactly. Now, keep in mind, troubleshooting often goes hand in hand with managing your workload. So be ready for a follow-up, like, how do you troubleshoot problems on a slitter?
Okay, now that sounds a bit scary. What if I haven't seen every single problem that could happen?
That's understandable. The key here is to show off your problem-solving skills and that you can think critically.
So how do I even begin to answer this one?
Remember the STAR method. It's useful here too. Think of a time you ran into a problem, maybe not on a slitter specifically, but any situation where you had to troubleshoot a technical issue.
Okay, so I describe the problem, explain how I figured out what was wrong, and then what I did to fix it.
You got it. And don't be afraid to mention what resources you used, whether it was a manual, a coworker, or even something you found online.
Shows initiative, right? Like you're willing to figure things out.
Precisely. And bonus points if you can connect your troubleshooting story to quality control.
Right. At the end of the day, a slitter operator's job is making sure the final product is good.
Exactly. You could say something like, I noticed the widths of the slits were a bit off, so I checked the manual and adjusted the tension settings to make sure the material was feeding through right. This prevented a quality issue and made sure the product met the specs.
That's a great example. Shows you get the importance of quality and that you're proactive in finding and fixing potential problems.
And another tip. If you get a troubleshooting question you're not sure about, don't be afraid to say, I haven't seen that specific problem before, but I'm a fast learner and I know I can pick up the knowledge and skills to troubleshoot it effectively.
Shows a positive attitude and a willingness to learn, which are always good things.
You got it. And hey, don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can look at your answers to these kinds of questions and suggest ways to make them even better. It can even help you figure out where you might need to brush up on your knowledge or practice explaining things.
Okay, so it can help me tailor my answers for different jobs and really highlight the skills that employers are after. Super helpful.
It's like a secret weapon for interview prep. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about another big part of being a slitter operator, the materials.
This is interesting. I imagine you need to know about all sorts of different materials and be able to adapt to working with them.
You're right, and a very common question is, what experience do you have working with different types of materials?
So how do I answer that if I haven't worked with every material out there?
Just be honest. If you've mostly worked with, say, paper products, say that, but then emphasize that you're eager to learn and adapt to new things.
So even without experience with a specific material, I can still show that I'm adaptable and ready to learn new things.
Exactly. You can even name specific materials you're interested in learning more about.
Shows initiative and that I'm looking to grow.
Now, if you do have experience with a variety of materials, this is your chance to really shine. Be specific, talk about the unique properties of each one and how those properties affect the slitting process.
Okay, so I should be ready to talk about things like thickness and tensile strength, and even stuff like static buildup.
The more you know about the materials you've worked with, the better.
So it's about going beyond just listing the materials. It's showing that you understand how they work and how they affect the process.
Right, and if you have any experience with quality control related to the materials, definitely mention that. Like, did you ever find a defect and prevent it from messing up production?
Shows you're not just running the machine, you're really thinking about the materials and how they affect the final product.
Exactly. And one more thing. RoleCatcher can actually help you identify the specific materials that are common in the jobs you're looking at. That way you can focus your research and tailor your answers.
Okay, we've covered so much today, from experience and safety to the technical stuff and even materials. But what if I want to move into a leadership role? What kinds of questions should I expect there?
Great question. If you're aiming for a supervisor or management position, they'll definitely ask about your leadership skills and experience.
So how do I get ready for those?
A common one is, how would you manage a team of slitter operators?
Oh, that sounds intimidating. I don't have a lot of experience managing people.
That's right. Even if you haven't had a formal leadership title, you've probably had moments where you showed leadership qualities.
So how do I use those moments to answer the question?
Think about times you've had to delegate tasks, motivate people, resolve conflicts, or mentor someone. Those are all examples of leadership, even if it wasn't in a formal setting.
Okay. I can see how I could frame my experiences to show my leadership potential. What if they ask about specific leadership styles?
That's a good question. There are lots of leadership styles, and the best approach depends on the situation and the people involved.
So I should learn about different leadership styles and be ready to talk about the ones that work best for me.
Exactly. Some common ones are transformational leadership, which is all about inspiring people; servant leadership, where you prioritize your team's needs; democratic leadership, where you get input from everyone; and autocratic leadership, which is more about giving direct orders.
Wow, that's a lot of different ways to lead.
It is. And it's good to know the pros and cons of each one and be able to explain which ones you find most effective and why.
So I should be ready to talk about my preferred style and give examples of how I've used it before.
Yes. And be authentic. Don't try to force yourself into a style that doesn't feel right for you.
Makes sense. Find a style that fits your personality.
Now, when you're talking about your leadership experience, don't forget to highlight your achievements.
Right. It's not enough to just say, I led a team. I need to give concrete examples of what I accomplished.
Exactly. Did you improve morale, increase productivity, create a new process that made things run better? Those are the things that will really impress them.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident about those leadership questions.
And remember, RoleCatcher can give you insights into what leadership qualities are most valued for the jobs you want. That way you can tailor your answers and focus on what's in demand.
So it can help me figure out the most relevant leadership skills for each job.
It's all about presenting yourself as the perfect candidate.
This has been so helpful. I feel way more prepared for those tough interview questions.
We've covered so much today, from your general experience and safety to the technical parts of the job and even leadership. But there's another powerful tool that can really help you ace your interview: RoleCatcher's AI feedback system. We'll dig into that more after a quick break.
Welcome back. So before we jumped into all those interview questions, we were talking about RoleCatcher's AI and how it can help you get ready. Let's dig a little deeper into that.
Yeah, RoleCatcher sounds like it could be a real game changer, especially for someone like me who, gets a little nervous before interviews.
It can definitely help with those nerves.
Mm.
One of the coolest things about RoleCatcher is its AI feedback system. You can practice your answers, either by typing them out or even recording a video of yourself.
Wait, it can analyze videos? That's pretty cool.
It is. And then it gives you feedback on things like clarity, conciseness, and using the right keywords. It even looks at your tone of voice to help you sound more confident.
So it's like having a virtual interview coach giving you personalized tips. Exactly. It can suggest ways to rephrase things, highlight your accomplishments better, or even help you structure your answers in a more, impactful way.
That's amazing. I can see how that would be helpful for anyone, no matter how much experience they have.
It's especially useful for those behavioral questions where you need to give specific examples. Remember the STAR method we talked about? RoleCatcher can make sure your STAR stories are well organized and hit all the right points.
Sounds like it takes the guesswork out of preparing. You're not just practicing randomly, you're getting targeted feedback that actually helps you improve.
Right. And don't forget, RoleCatcher has this huge database of employers and job postings. You can look for Slitter Operator jobs near you, get a feel for the company culture, even see what kind of salaries people are making with your experience level.
So you can be smart about where you apply, focusing on companies that match your goals and values.
Exactly. And here's something else that's really cool. You can actually make your profile visible to employers so they can find you.
Wow, that's interesting. You're not just waiting for the right job to come along, you're putting yourself out there.
It's all about being proactive and standing out from the crowd. Speaking of standing out, RoleCatcher also has a CV builder.
Oh, tell me more about that. I've used those generic resume templates before, and they never seem quite right.
RoleCatcher's CV builder is different. It's not about filling in the blanks. It helps you create a CV that highlights the skills and experiences that are most relevant to each specific job you apply for.
So it helps you show off the parts of your background that the hiring manager will care about most.
Exactly. And remember those automated systems we talked about? RoleCatcher's CV Builder makes sure your CV is optimized for those systems. It includes relevant keywords and formats, everything, so it's easy for those systems to scan.
That's smart. It's like a secret weapon for getting past those initial screenings and making sure your CV is seen by a real person.
It is, and it helps you make your CV clear and concise, so it's easy for a human to read too. It even gives you tips on writing a strong summary statement that really captures your qualifications.
This is amazing. So with RoleCatcher, I can get feedback on my answers, research companies, and even create a great CV that's tailored to each job. What else does it do?
Well, remember those career guides we mentioned? They're packed with information about being a Slitter operator, the industry in general, and the skills that employers are looking for.
I'm definitely sensing a theme here. RoleCatcher seems like it has everything you need to prepare for this career.
They really do. They have detailed info on everything from what a Slitter operator does day to day to potential career paths you can take, and they talk about the work environment too.
Oh, that's something I've been wondering about. What's it actually like to work as a Slitter operator?
Good question. It's a fast-paced environment where you need to be focused and pay attention to details. You're often on your feet, moving around, maybe even lifting heavy rolls of material.
So you need to be in decent shape.
Yeah, it helps. And it can be noisy, so you need to be okay with that. Of course, safety is super important, and you'll always wear the proper PPE, like earplugs and safety glasses.
Makes sense. Safety should always be the top priority, especially in those kinds of environments.
Absolutely. And the work can be challenging, especially when you have deadlines and need to keep the quality high. You need to be able to handle pressure and stay focused, even when things get a little crazy.
Sounds like it's not the best job for someone to get stressed out easily.
Right. But it can also be really rewarding. You're part of a team that's making products used all over the place. And there's a real sense of accomplishment in mastering those machines and seeing the results of your work.
I can imagine seeing a perfect roll of material come off the machine, knowing it's going to be part of something bigger.
Exactly. And as you gain more experience, there's room to grow. You could become a supervisor, train new operators, or even specialize in a certain type of material or slitting process.
So there's definitely potential for advancement in this field.
For sure. And RoleCatcher's career guides actually lay out those different career stages. They have profiles for entry-level Slitter operators, junior Slitter operators, senior Slitter operators, and even master Slitter operators.
Wow, that's so helpful for figuring out your career path and setting goals. It's like having a roadmap for success.
Exactly. Now remember that final interview question we talked about, the one that's all about gauging your passion.
You mean, What aspect of being a Slitter operator excites you the most?
That's the one. Are you ready to tackle that now? It's all about showing the interviewer why you really want this job, beyond just the technical stuff.
Let's do it. So how do we answer this most exciting aspect question in a way that really connects with the interviewer?
It's about going deeper than the usual answers and really thinking about what makes you excited about this role. Is it the challenge of mastering those complex machines? Maybe the satisfaction of taking raw materials and turning them into precise parts? Or maybe you love the team aspect, being part of something that keeps production going.
Yeah, those are all great points. It's about figuring out what part of the job really speaks to you.
Right. And the more specific you can be, the more they'll remember your answer. So instead of just saying, I enjoy working with machines, you could talk about a specific time you fixed a tricky problem or improved a process to make things more efficient.
So it's connecting your passion to real examples that show what you can do.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to let your personality come through a bit. If you're genuinely excited about something, let them see it in your words and how you say it.
It's about being authentic, not putting on an act.
You got it. And hey, remember those RoleCatcher career guides? They can actually give you some ideas about what aspects of the job employers really value. That way, you can make sure your answer hits the mark.
So it's a mix of your own passion plus understanding what they're looking for.
Exactly. Find that middle ground where your interests and their needs meet.
This whole deep dive has been incredibly helpful. I feel so much more prepared to tackle those Slitter operator interviews now.
We've covered a ton today, from showcasing your experience and knowledge to talking about safety and even leadership. And of course, there's RoleCatcher, with all its amazing tools to help you get ready and give those perfect answers.
It really is like a secret weapon for your job search. AI feedback, a CV builder that makes your resume stand out, those in-depth career guides. RoleCatcher seems like a must-have for anyone who wants to be a Slitter operator.
It is. With all those resources and a genuine passion for the work, you'll be well on your way to a successful career in this field.
So to everyone out there who's aiming for a Slitter operator job, we wish you the best of luck. Remember to tap into that passion, show off your skills, and use RoleCatcher to make your application shine.
And don't forget to practice those interview answers. With the right prep and a genuine enthusiasm for the work, we know you can make a great impression and land that dream job.